Story 1. I moved to this quiet neighborhood 6 months ago after my divorce, hoping for some peace and quiet. The house came with a beautiful stone fireplace that I'd been looking forward to using all winter. What I didn't expect was that my new neighbor would turn my cozy evening into a 3-ring circus. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, so I spend most of my time in my house office. The previous owners had set up the fireplace, perfectly good ventilation, proper screen, and a chimney that draws smoke up and out without any issues. I'd been using it regularly since the weather turned cold, and never had any problems. Last Tuesday was particularly chilly, so I decided to light a fire while I worked on a client project. I gathered some seasoned oak logs from my backyard pile, got a nice fire going, and settled in with my laptop. The flames were crackling peacefully, and I was making good progress on my work. Around 3 in the afternoon, I heard sirens getting closer and closer. Living near the main road, I'm used to emergency vehicles passing by, but these sounded like they were stopping nearby. I looked out my front window and nearly dropped my coffee mug. 3 fire trucks were pulling up to my house, along with an ambulance and 2 police cars. I ran outside in my slippers, completely confused about what was happening. "Fire chief, are you the homeowner?" "Me? Yes. What's going on? Is everything okay?" "Fire chief, we got a call about a massive house fire at this address." "Where's the fire?" "Me, fire? I don't have a fire." "Well, I have a fire in my fireplace, but that's supposed to be there." The fire chief looked at me, then at my house, then back at me. I could see smoke coming from my chimney, but it was just the normal amount you'd expect from a fireplace. "Fire chief, someone called 911 reporting flames and heavy smoke coming from your house. They said it looked like the whole place was about to burn down." "Me, that's impossible. I just have a small fire in my fireplace. It's working perfectly fine." "Firefighter, mind if we take a look inside to make sure everything's safe?" "Me, of course, please do." I led them inside where my fireplace was burning normally behind the screen. The firefighters checked the chimney, looked at the fireplace setup, and even used some kind of heat detector around the walls and ceiling. "Firefighter, everything looks completely normal here. This is just a regular fireplace doing what fireplaces do." "Fire chief, the person who called was very insistent that they were seeing a major house fire. They said there were flames visible from the street and dangerous amounts of smoke." "Me, I have no idea who would say that. My fireplace is working exactly like it should." That's when I saw her. Karen was standing across the street with her arms crossed, watching the whole scene. She had moved in about 2 months after me and had already made herself known to the neighborhood by complaining about everything from people parking on the street to kids riding bikes too loudly. "Fire chief, ma'am, can you come over here, please?" Karen walked over with this smug expression on her face. "Karen, I hope you got here in time. I tried to warn everyone about the danger." "Fire chief, you're the one who called this in." "Karen, of course I did. I saw massive flames and smoke pouring out of that house. Someone had to do something before it spread to the other houses." "Fire chief, ma'am, there is no house fire. The homeowner has a normal fire burning in their fireplace." "Karen, that's not normal. I've lived here for months and never seen smoke like that coming from anyone's house." "Me, I use my fireplace regularly. It's perfectly safe and legal." "Karen, well, it shouldn't be allowed. What if sparks fly out and catch other houses on fire? What if the smoke makes people sick? This is a residential neighborhood, not some camping ground." "Fire chief, ma'am, fireplaces are completely legal and normal in residential areas. This homeowner is doing nothing wrong." "Karen, you can't be serious. Look at all that smoke coming out of the chimney right now. That's clearly a fire hazard." The fire chief was starting to look annoyed. By now, several neighbors had come out to see what was happening, and a small crowd was gathering on the sidewalk. "Fire chief, that smoke is from a properly functioning fireplace. It's no different from the smoke that comes from your furnace or water heater." "Karen, Those are different. Those are necessary utilities. Nobody needs to burn wood in their house when they have central heating. Firefighter. Ma'am, whether someone chooses to use their fireplace is not your decision to make. Karen. Well, somebody needs to think about the safety of this neighborhood. I'm just trying to protect everyone from fires and smoke damage. Fire Chief. What you're actually doing is wasting emergency resources and filing a false report. Karen. False report? I saw what I saw. There was clearly a fire, and you people showed up and put it out before it could spread. Me. Nobody put anything out. My fire is still burning right now, exactly like it was when you called. The fire chief walked over to his truck and came back with a clipboard. Fire Chief. Ma'am, I'm going to need to see your license. Filing a false emergency report is a misdemeanor, and you're going to be fined for wasting city resources. Karen. You can't fine me for calling 911. I was trying to help. Fire Chief. You can call 911 for actual emergencies. Calling because you don't like your neighbor's legal fireplace is not an emergency. Karen. How was I supposed to know it was legal? It looked dangerous to me. Fire Chief. You could have knocked on your neighbor's door and asked before calling emergency services. Karen. I'm not going to risk my safety by getting close to a house fire. One of the neighbors who had been watching stepped forward. Neighbor, excuse me, but I think everyone should know that this woman has been complaining about this fireplace in our neighborhood group chat for weeks. Fire Chief. Group chat. Neighbor. Yeah, she's been posting almost daily about how the smoke is bothering her and how someone should do something about it. She's asked multiple times if fireplaces are even legal. Karen. That's because it's a legitimate safety concern. Neighbor. People kept telling you it was normal and legal, but you wouldn't listen. The fire chief looked at Karen with obvious frustration. Fire Chief. So you knew other people told you this was normal, and you called 911 anyway? Karen. Those people aren't fire safety experts. I thought you would take it more seriously. Fire Chief. What I take seriously is people who waste emergency resources when there could be real fires happening elsewhere in the city. He finished writing on his clipboard and handed her a ticket. Fire Chief. This is a citation for filing a false emergency report. The fine is $300. If you do this again, you could face criminal charges. Karen. This is ridiculous. I was trying to be a good neighbor. Fire Chief. A good neighbor would have talked to their neighbor directly instead of calling the fire department. The fire chief then did something I wasn't expecting. He pulled out his phone. Fire Chief. Someone mentioned a neighborhood group chat. Can you add me to it real quick? I want to make sure everyone understands what happened here today. My neighbor pulled out her phone and added the fire chief to our group chat. Within minutes, he posted a message explaining that fireplaces are legal, normal, and safe when used properly. He also warned that calling emergency services for non-emergencies wastes resources and can result in fines and criminal charges. Karen. You can't embarrass me like this in front of the whole neighborhood. Fire Chief. You embarrassed yourself when you called in a false report instead of having a simple conversation with your neighbor. After the fire trucks left, I went back inside to find my fire still burning peacefully. I could see Karen standing in her driveway, probably reading all the messages in the group chat from neighbors who were not happy about the false alarm. The best part came later that evening when I checked the group chat. The fire chief's warning message had been pinned to the top, and several neighbors had shared their own stories about Karen's complaints. Apparently, she had also called the city about people using their barbecue grills and complained to the Homeowners Association about outdoor Christmas lights. I still use my fireplace whenever I want, and Karen hasn't said a word about it since. Though I did notice she installed blackout curtains on all her windows facing my house. I guess she decided it was easier to block out the sight of normal fireplace smoke than to accept that some things are just none of her business. Story 2. I've been a high school history teacher for 12 years now. Every spring, I organize educational trips to help my students connect with the past in ways textbooks can't provide. This year, I planned a visit to the National Holocaust Memorial Museum with my advanced placement history class. These kids had been studying World War II for months, and I wanted them to experience the weight of history firsthand. The museum requires advance booking for student groups, so I'd been planning this trip since January. 23 students, 3 parent chaperones, and myself made up our group. I'd prepared them extensively beforehand, explaining what they would see and why it was important to witness difficult truths about human history. We arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. The students were quieter than usual, understanding the solemnity of where they were. Our assigned museum guide was Dr. Richardson, a historian who'd worked there for over 15 years. She had a gentle but firm way of presenting information that helped visitors process difficult content. Everything was going perfectly until we reached the main exhibition hall. Dr. Richardson was explaining the systematic nature of the genocide, using photographs and artifacts to illustrate how the machinery of hatred operated. My students were listening intently, some taking notes, others just absorbing the magnitude of what they were learning. Then she walked into our group. A woman in her 40s with perfectly styled blonde hair and designer clothes pushed her way to the front. She wasn't part of our school group, just a random visitor who'd apparently been eavesdropping on our guided tour. "Karen, excuse me, I need you to stop right now." Dr. Richardson paused mid-sentence, clearly confused. "Dr. Richardson, I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is a private educational tour. Are you with this school group?" "Karen, no, but I can hear everything you're saying, and it's completely inappropriate. There are children here." I stepped forward. "Ma'am, these are high school students on an educational field trip. They're here specifically to learn about this history." "Karen, well, I have my own children with me, and this content is far too graphic and upsetting. You need to tone it down immediately." I looked around but didn't see any young children near her. "Dr. Richardson, ma'am, this is a Holocaust Memorial Museum. The content is necessarily serious, but it's presented in an age-appropriate educational context." "Karen, I don't care what kind of museum this is. You're traumatizing children with these horrible stories. My kids don't need to hear about people being murdered." One of my students, Sarah, spoke up quietly. "Sarah, but this really happened. Shouldn't we learn about it so it doesn't happen again?" Karen whirled around to face her. "Karen, honey, you don't need to fill your head with such negative thoughts. There are plenty of positive things to learn about instead." "Ma'am, these students are here with permission from their parents, specifically to learn about this historical period. If you're uncomfortable, you're welcome to move to a different section of the museum." "Karen, no, I shouldn't have to leave. You should change your tour to be more family-friendly." Dr. Richardson maintained her professional composure. "Dr. Richardson, ma'am, I understand this content can be difficult, but it's historically accurate and educationally important. We present it respectfully to honor the memory of the victims." "Karen, respectfully, you're filling children's minds with violence and hatred. This is child abuse." She pulled out her phone and held it up, pointing it at our group. "Karen, I'm going live on social media right now to show everyone what's happening here. This museum is traumatizing innocent children with graphic content." My students looked uncomfortable, not because of the historical content, but because this woman was making a scene and filming them without permission. "Ma'am, you cannot film these minors without parental consent. Please put your phone away." "Karen, I have every right to document this abuse. Everyone needs to see how this so-called educational institution is harming children." She started walking around our group with her phone, speaking loudly to her camera. "Karen, look at this, everyone. This museum guide is forcing children to listen to graphic descriptions of violence. They're showing disturbing images to minors. This is what passes for education these days." Dr. Richardson tried to redirect. "Dr. Richardson, perhaps we should continue our tour." "Ma'am, you're welcome to speak with museum administration if you have concerns." Karen, no way. I'm not letting you continue this abuse. Kids, you don't have to listen to this woman. You can leave right now. She was now directly addressing my students on camera. Karen, don't let these adults force you to hear traumatic content. You have rights. My student Marcus, who'd been quiet until now, stepped forward. Marcus, lady, my great-grandfather survived the camps. This is my family's history. You don't get to decide whether we learn about it or not. Karen, well, that's your choice, but other children shouldn't be forced to hear it. Another student, Jessica, joined in. Jessica, we're all here voluntarily. Our parents signed permission slips. We studied this for months preparing for today. Karen, your parents don't know what's best for you. This museum is using educational abuse to corrupt young minds. She continued live streaming, getting more agitated by the minute. Karen, this is exactly what's wrong with our education system. They're teaching kids to focus on negative history instead of positive American values. This museum should be shut down. Museum security appeared, having been alerted by other visitors about the disturbance. Security officer, ma'am, you're disrupting other visitors and filming minors without permission. I need you to end your live stream and lower your voice. Karen, I'm a taxpayer. I have every right to be here and document what I see. Security officer, you have the right to visit, but not to disrupt educational programs or film other people's children. Karen, these aren't other people's children. These are America's children being brainwashed by liberal propaganda. Dr. Richardson spoke calmly to my students. Dr. Richardson, why don't we move to the next section while security handles this situation? As we started to move, Karen followed us, still live streaming and ranting. Karen, don't walk away from me. I'm exposing the truth about what happens in these so-called museums. Parents need to know their children are being indoctrinated with victim mentality. The security officer finally managed to escort her away, though we could still hear her shouting about her rights and the corruption of education. We finished our tour in peace, and my students had thoughtful discussions about what they'd learned. The incident with Karen actually reinforced some important lessons about how people sometimes try to suppress difficult truths. That evening, one of my students showed me Karen's live stream had gone viral on social media. She'd posted it with captions about educational abuse and liberal indoctrination, expecting support. Instead, she got absolutely destroyed in the comments. Professional historians from universities across the country were explaining why Holocaust education matters. Teachers shared their own experiences with similar disruptions. Even some of her friends and family members were commenting that she'd gone too far. The video was shared on Twitter, where education advocates and history professors systematically debunked every claim she made. A professor from Yale wrote a particularly thorough response explaining the importance of age-appropriate historical education. The museum issued a statement supporting their educational mission and the right of students to learn accurate history. Within days, major news outlets picked up the story. Karen tried to double down, posting more videos claiming she was being persecuted for protecting children. But each new post only made things worse. Education professionals kept responding with facts, research, and reasoned explanations of why her approach was harmful. The final blow came when a Holocaust survivor saw the video and recorded her own response. At 94 years old, she explained calmly but firmly why it was crucial for young people to learn this history and how Karen's attitude dishonored the memory of those who died. Within a week, Karen had deleted all her social media accounts. The museum told me she'd been banned from returning, and several other local museums had flagged her as a potential disruptor. My students learned more from that field trip than I ever imagined they would. Not just about history, but about the importance of confronting difficult truths and standing up for education in the face of willful ignorance. Sometimes the best teaching moments come from the most unexpected sources. Story 3. I've been raising cattle since I was 14 years old. What started as a Future Farmers of America project in high school turned into a serious passion that followed me into adulthood. My grandfather had a small farm outside town, and when he passed away, he left it to me along with his knowledge about proper animal husbandry. Over the past 8 years, I've built up a small but respected herd of Holstein dairy cattle. I focus on quality over quantity, keeping only 12 cows that I treat like family. Each one has a name, a detailed health record, and gets individual attention every single day. My veterinarian bills are higher than most people's car payments because I believe in preventive care and the best nutrition money can buy. My pride and joy is a 4-year-old Holstein named Bella. She's won grand champion at the county fair 3 years running, and last year she placed second at the state agricultural exhibition. Bella is massive, weighing about 14 pounds, but she's gentle as a lamb with people she trusts. She's also incredibly valuable. I've had offers from other breeders for over $8,000, but I'd never sell her. Every year, I enter Bella and 2 of my other best cows in the county fair livestock competition. It's a week-long event where farmers from all over the region bring their best animals to compete in various categories. The fair is educational. Thousands of families come through to learn about agriculture and see healthy farm animals up close. This year's fair started on a Tuesday, and I'd been there since Monday afternoon getting my cattle settled in. The livestock barn is a large, clean facility with individual stalls for each animal. Every stall has fresh bedding, automatic water systems, and feeding stations. The animals are kept in stalls for their own safety and the safety of visitors. These are 1,000-pound animals that could accidentally hurt someone if they wandered freely. I was in the next stall over, grooming one of my younger cows, when I heard someone approaching Bella's area. I looked up to see a middle-aged woman with her 2 young children examining my prize cow. "Karen, look at this poor thing, kids. This is exactly what I've been telling you about factory farming." Kid 1, "But Mom, the sign says she won first place last year." "Karen, that doesn't mean anything. Look at her, trapped in this tiny cage." I walked over, wiping my hands on a towel. Excuse me, can I help you folks?" "Karen, yes, you can explain why this beautiful animal is being kept in these horrible conditions." "Actually, this is my cow, and she's in excellent health. The stalls are for safety during the fair." "Karen, your cow? You mean you're the one responsible for this cruelty?" I tried to explain that Bella lived on 40 acres of pasture at home, that the stalls were temporary housing just for the fair week, and that all the animals were examined by veterinarians daily. I showed her Bella's ribbons and awards, and pointed out how shiny her coat was, how bright her eyes looked, and how she was calmly chewing her cud, all signs of a healthy, content animal. She's probably in better health than most pets. I spend about $200 a month just on her feed supplements." "Karen, I don't care what you spend. No animal should be confined like this." Her kids were getting interested in Bella, who had come to the front of the stall to see the visitors. "She's always been curious about people." Kid 2, "She's really pretty, Mom, and she seems happy." "Karen, she's not happy, honey. She's just learned to accept her prison." "Ma'am, I understand your concern for animal welfare, but I can assure you that Bella is extremely well cared for. Would you like me to get one of the fair veterinarians to explain the health standards?" "Karen, I don't need some corrupt vet to lie to me. I can see abuse when I see it." The conversation was attracting attention from other visitors and exhibitors. A few other farmers had stopped to listen, probably wondering what the commotion was about. "Karen, someone needs to free this poor animal." "Ma'am, please don't touch her. She's not used to strangers, and for insurance reasons, only authorized personnel can handle the livestock." "Karen, I'm not going to let this animal suffer while you people make money off her misery." Before I could stop her, she reached over the stall gate and started fumbling with Bella's halter rope. Bella, who had been calm up until that moment, suddenly became agitated at having a stranger grabbing at her head. "Stop, you're scaring her." "Karen, I'm setting her free." Bella started backing up, and moving her head away from the stranger's hands. Karen leaned further into the stall, trying to reach the rope that secured Bella's halter to the wall. "Me, please get away from her. She's getting upset." Other exhibitors were shouting warnings, but Karen ignored everyone. She managed to untie part of Bella's lead rope, and the cow began moving around the stall, confused and stressed by the commotion. That's when it happened. Bella, trying to get away from the strange woman who kept grabbing at her, spun around and kicked out with her back legs. It's a natural defensive reaction for cattle when they feel threatened. The kick caught Karen square in the chest and sent her flying backward out of the stall. She landed hard in the walkway, which unfortunately for her had just been cleaned and was still wet with dirty water and manure runoff. Karen was screaming and covered in mud and manure, but she didn't appear to be seriously injured. Her kids were crying, and several people were trying to help her up. "Me, are you hurt? Should I call an ambulance?" "Karen, you did this on purpose. Your vicious animal attacked me." Fair security arrived within minutes, followed by paramedics and police officers. Karen was refusing medical attention, but demanding that Bella be destroyed for being dangerous. Security guard, "Ma'am, multiple witnesses saw you enter the stall area against posted warnings and the owner's direct instructions." Karen, "I was trying to save an abused animal." Police officer, "Sir, is this your livestock?" Me, "Yes, officer. She's a registered Holstein, and she's never hurt anyone before." This lady climbed into the stall and tried to untie her despite being told not to. The officer took statements from me and several witnesses. The fair veterinarian examined Bella and confirmed she was calm and showing no signs of distress beyond the normal reaction to an unfamiliar person grabbing at her. Veterinarian, "This is actually a very well cared for animal. Her body condition is excellent, and her behavior is completely normal for a cow that felt threatened." Karen, "You're all in on this conspiracy. I'm calling animal control." Police officer, "Ma'am, you're being cited for criminal trespass and interference with livestock. These are serious charges in an agricultural county." Karen, "This is ridiculous. I was trying to help." The officer explained that interfering with livestock at agricultural events was a specific crime in our state, with fines up to $500 and possible jail time. The fair also had clearly posted rules about not touching the animals without permission. Karen's children were embarrassed and kept apologizing to me while their mother ranted at the police officers. One of them asked if Bella was okay, and I let them pet her nose gently while she was calm. Kid 1, "I'm sorry my mom got your cow upset." Me, "It's okay, kiddo. Bella's fine. She was just protecting herself." Karen ended up being escorted out of the fair by police, still covered in manure and threatening to sue everyone involved. She was banned from returning for the rest of the week. The fair veterinarian checked Bella again the next day and confirmed she had no injuries or lasting stress from the incident. She went on to win Grand Champion again that year, adding another ribbon to her collection. Word spread quickly through the agricultural community about what had happened. For the rest of the fair, I had dozens of visitors asking about Bella and commenting on how calm and healthy she looked. Several people mentioned that they'd heard about the crazy lady who tried to steal a cow and wanted to see the famous animal for themselves. Karen's citation resulted in a $400 fine and a permanent ban from all county agricultural events. The fair board updated their signage to include even more explicit warnings about not touching the livestock and added additional security during peak visiting hours. 6 months later, I heard through the local farming community that Karen had tried to organize a protest outside another county's fair, claiming they were all animal abuse operations. Apparently, she showed up with 2 supporters and a handful of signs, but left after an hour when nobody paid attention to her. Bella is now 8 years old and still winning competitions. She's had 4 healthy calves and continues to be the sweetest cow in my herd. She still gets excited when children visit the farm, though I make sure to supervise all interactions carefully. The incident taught me that no matter how well you care for your animals, There will always be someone who thinks they know better. But it also showed me how supportive the agricultural community can be when one of their own faces unreasonable attacks. I received calls and visits from fellow farmers for weeks afterward, all offering support and sharing their own stories of dealing with difficult visitors. Karen learned the hard way that good intentions don't excuse dangerous behavior, especially when you refuse to listen to people who actually know what they're talking about. Story 4. I work the night shift at a gas station on the edge of town. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills while I'm finishing my degree online. The job is usually pretty quiet, mostly truckers stopping for coffee and fuel, the occasional late-night snack run, and people heading home from bars or late shifts. I've been working there for about 2 years now, and I thought I'd seen every type of weird customer situation possible. I was wrong. The gas station where I work has 4 pumps arranged in a square layout, with enough space between them for cars to maneuver easily. There's also a small convenience store attached where I spend most of my shift behind the counter. The owner is a decent guy who's always been fair with his employees, and he trusts us to handle most situations on our own. About 3 months ago, this woman moved into the apartment complex across the street from our station. I'll call her Karen because her behavior definitely earned that title. She was probably in her 40s, always dressed in flowing scarves and crystal jewelry, and had this air about her like she was spiritually superior to everyone else. She'd come in occasionally to buy energy drinks and lottery tickets, always talking loudly on her phone about her various business ventures and manifesting abundance. The first sign of trouble came on a Tuesday night around 10 p.m. I was restocking the drink coolers when I noticed someone had set up what looked like a yard sale table right next to pump number 3. When I went outside to investigate, I found Karen arranging dozens of homemade candles on a folding table she'd positioned directly in front of the pump, making it impossible for anyone to pull up and fill their tank. Excuse me, you can't set up a table here. This is private property, and you're blocking the gas pump. Karen: Oh, hello there, I'm just setting up my small business. These are artisanal organic candles that smell like moonlight. I make them myself with all natural ingredients. I looked at her display. The candles were in mismatched jars and containers, some clearly repurposed from other products. They had handwritten labels with names like Lunar Essence, Midnight Dreams, and Celestial Harmony. The whole setup looked like something from a craft fair, not a professional business. I understand you're trying to sell things, but you can't do it here. You're blocking customers from using the gas pump. Karen: Actually, I have a right to commerce. It's in the Constitution. I'm a small business owner trying to make an honest living, and you're discriminating against entrepreneurs. This is private property. You need permission from the owner to sell anything here, and you definitely can't block the gas pumps. Karen: I'm not blocking anything. There are 3 other pumps people can use. One pump won't hurt anyone. As if on cue, a pickup truck pulled into the station and tried to access pump 3. The driver had to back out and use a different pump because Karen's table was in the way. I pointed this out to her. See? You're already causing problems for our customers. You need to pack up and leave. Karen: That man could have easily gone around. People these days are just too lazy to adapt. My candles bring positive energy to this space anyway, so really I'm doing everyone a favor. I went back inside and called my manager to explain the situation. He told me to give her one more warning, and if she didn't leave, I should call the police. When I went back outside, Karen had actually expanded her setup. She'd brought out a second table and was arranging what looked like crystals and handmade jewelry. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time to pack up and leave. If you don't, I'll have to call the police. Karen: You're harassing a small business owner. I'm not hurting anyone. These candles are made with pure intention and organic soy wax. They're healing candles that can help people with anxiety and depression. I don't care what they're made of. You're trespassing and blocking our equipment. This is your final warning. Karen: Fine, I'll move my table a few feet over, but I'm not leaving. I have every right to be here." She moved her setup maybe 2 feet to the left, which still completely blocked access to pump 3. At this point, I was done being polite. I went back inside and called the police. While I was waiting for the officers to arrive, more customers started showing up. It was getting busy for a Tuesday night, and people were getting frustrated that they couldn't use one of the 4 pumps. A few customers came inside to complain. Customer: "Hey, there's some lady out there selling candles, and she won't move so I can get gas." Me: "I know, I've called the police. They should be here soon." Another customer came in a few minutes later. Customer: "What's the deal with the candle lady? She told me her products could cure my insomnia, but I just want to fill up my tank." Me: "She's not supposed to be there. Officers are on their way." By the time the police arrived, Karen had attracted a small crowd. Some people were actually looking at her candles, though nobody seemed to be buying anything. 2 officers approached her table while I went outside to explain the situation. Officer 1: "Ma'am, we've had a complaint that you're blocking access to this gas pump." Karen: "Officers, thank goodness you're here. This employee has been harassing me all night. I'm a legitimate business owner selling organic wellness products, and I have a constitutional right to commerce." Officer 2: "Do you have permission from the property owner to sell here?" Karen: "I don't need permission. This is America. I have the right to start a business anywhere I want." Officer 1: "Actually, you do need permission to sell on private property, and you're blocking access to this pump, which is causing problems for customers." Karen: "These candles are therapeutic. They're made with essential oils and positive intentions. People need healing in their lives, and my products provide that. I'm performing a public service." Officer 2: "Ma'am, regardless of what you're selling, you need to pack up and leave the property." Karen: "I demand to speak to your supervisor. You're violating my rights as an entrepreneur." The officers were losing patience. One of them walked over to examine her candle display, while the other continued talking to Karen. Officer 1: "Ma'am, are these products certified for sale? Do you have permits for selling homemade candles?" Karen: "They're organic and all natural. I don't need permits for natural products." Officer 2: "Actually, you do need safety certifications for selling candles, especially if you're making medical claims about them." I watched as the officer picked up one of her candles and read the label. The handwriting was barely legible, and there was no ingredient list or safety information anywhere on the packaging. Officer 2: "These don't have proper labeling or safety certifications. You can't sell candles without meeting state safety requirements." Karen: "Those requirements are just government overreach trying to suppress small businesses. My candles are safer than anything you'd buy in a store because they're made with love and positive energy." Officer 1: "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to pack up everything right now. You're being cited for obstruction of business and selling products without proper certification." Karen: "This is discrimination. You're targeting me because I'm a spiritual entrepreneur. My candles smell like moonlight, which is a natural phenomenon. You can't regulate moonlight." Officer 2: "We're not regulating moonlight, ma'am. We're enforcing business regulations and trespassing laws." At this point, Karen started getting louder and more agitated. She began shouting about her constitutional rights and how the police were suppressing her artistic expression. The officers remained professional but firm. Officer 1: "You have 2 choices. You can pack up voluntarily, or we can arrest you for trespassing and take your products as evidence." Karen: "You can't take my inventory. These candles cost me hundreds of dollars to make. Each one is handcrafted with organic ingredients." Officer 2: "If you're selling products without proper permits and safety certifications, we have to confiscate them." Karen: "I'll sue all of you. This is theft. My candles are perfectly safe. I use them in my own home all the time." Officer 1: "Ma'am, turn around and put your hands behind your back." They started to arrest her for trespassing, but Karen finally realized she was serious trouble. She agreed to pack up her tables, though she continued complaining loudly about government overreach and constitutional violations. Officer 2, we're still going to have to confiscate the candles until you can provide proper safety certifications and permits. Karen, those candles are my livelihood. I spent my whole savings on supplies. You're destroying a small business. Officer 1, you should have gotten the proper permits before starting to sell them. They loaded about 60 candles and various other handmade items into evidence bags, while Karen stood there fuming. She kept muttering about lawsuit and discrimination, but she was clearly defeated. Officer 2, you're being cited for obstruction of business and selling uncertified products. You're also banned from this property. If you come back, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Karen, this isn't over. I know my rights, and I'm going to report all of you. After the police left with Karen and her confiscated inventory, things finally returned to normal. Customers could use all 4 pumps again, and I could get back to my usual quiet night shift routine. The next day, my manager called to thank me for handling the situation properly. He said the gas station owner was considering pressing additional charges for loss of business, since Karen's obstruction had forced several customers to leave and go to competitors. But the story doesn't end there. About a week later, Karen showed up again, this time with a different setup. She'd brought a small camping chair and was sitting next to the air pump, offering to bless people's tires for $5. When I told her she was banned from the property, she claimed she was on public sidewalk, even though she was clearly on our lot. Me, you're banned from this property. You need to leave immediately, or I'm calling the police again. Karen, I'm providing a spiritual service. People's tires need positive energy for safe travels. This is a legitimate business. Me, you're trespassing. The officers told you not to come back. Karen, I'm not selling anything this time. I'm just offering blessings, which is religious expression protected by the First Amendment. I called the police again, and this time they arrested her for violating the trespassing ban. She spent the night in jail and was ordered to pay a fine. The final chapter of this saga came about a month later. I was browsing social media when I came across a local news article about a woman who'd been arrested for selling homemade cosmetics without permits at a farmer's market. The photo showed Karen being led away in handcuffs, surrounded by confiscated jars of what the article described as unregulated beauty products with potentially dangerous ingredients. Apparently, after losing her candle inventory, she'd moved on to making face creams and lip balms that she claimed could reverse aging through crystal energy infusion. The health department had shut her down after multiple complaints about people developing rashes and allergic reactions to her products. According to the article, she was facing multiple charges, including selling dangerous cosmetics without FDA approval, operating without a business license, and making false medical claims about her products. The investigation revealed that she'd been selling her miracle beauty products at various locations around town, always without permits and always making outrageous claims about their healing properties. The article mentioned that authorities had found her apartment filled with hundreds of unmarked jars containing unknown substances, along with crystals, essential oils, and what appeared to be a makeshift laboratory where she was mixing cosmetics in unsanitary conditions. I showed the article to my coworkers, and we all had a good laugh about the woman who thought she could sell moonlight-scented candles by blocking gas pumps. It turns out her entrepreneurial spirit was matched only by her complete ignorance of business regulations and public safety laws. Karen's story became something of a local legend. The gas station owner even put up a small sign near the pumps that reads, "No unauthorized vendors," with a picture of a candle with a red circle and line through it. Regular customers who remembered the incident still joke about it when they come in. Last I heard, Karen had moved to a different town, probably to find new locations where she could set up her unlicensed spiritual business empire. I just hope she's learned something about proper permits and safety regulations, though somehow I doubt it.